Hello and welcome back, guys. So in today's video we will be learning about JavaScript loops. So first thing I've done is made a HTML file, a basic one, and linked it with our loops.js, and I open my console over here so we can see the changes as we go along. So far we have executed JavaScript codes in like a sort of a straight line with like else if statements and so on. But in today's video we're going to learn a method of doing these things over and over again called looping. So for example, maybe if you want to perform a function or something continuously, we're going to use looping for that. So to begin with, we're going to make a array make an array. Let's call it to buy. It will be sort of a shopping list for us, and we can start by, let's say we add apples in our shopping list. We add mangoes. We can add kiwi. We can add peach. And we can add grapes. And we have our shopping list. Now imagine you wanted to actually add exclamation mark in front of each and every item on your list. Now going through it one by one and adding an exclamation mark is very annoying, it's very tiresome. On the other hand, you can also imagine if this was thousands and thousands of line of code, and obviously you wouldn't want to go through it to make minor adjustments. So this is where looping comes in. So the first type of loop we're going to learn in this video is called a for loop, and now I'm going to explain it, don't worry, but this is the syntax that you're just going to have to remember, and it goes like for variable I equals to 0, I is less than to buy dot length, and as long as this is happening we want I++. Okay, and then we can add the loop over here. Control save. So basically what we are saying is that we want to run a for loop, and in this for loop our index starts from 0, because it starts from 0, and as long as our index is less than the length of this variable to buy, we want to keep running whatever we write in this loop. So you might be thinking, what is the length? So we can check over here. You can go to well, I didn't write it correctly. Okay. All right. Control save, refresh, and then yep. If we access to buy, you can see the length is 5. So we want this loop to run as long as I increases to 5. I will start from 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, and the minute it becomes more than 4, that means it becomes 5, it will stop. So this is how it's done. Now what we wanted to do was we wanted to add a exclamation mark over here. So how we're going to do that is we're going to do console.log to buy I plus the exclamation mark, and yeah, that's it. If I control save this and I refresh, you can see we have added the exclamation mark in front of all the items on the list. But the thing over here is that we have only added this in the console.log, because if I access the actual list, no exclamation marks have been added. So if you actually want to push your changes to the original list, all you need to do is very simple, to buy I'm gonna control C and copy this, and then control I is equal to, I'm gonna paste that. I'm just gonna delete this thing, and that's it. Control save. If I refresh, nothing happens, but if I access our to buy, You can see the changes have been pushed. Now, since this is an array, obviously you can also perform methods like pop and concat, that we have learned before, and many others. But let's see how you would go about it. Like if you thought that you wanted to pop each and every item from this list, you'll probably do something like to buy dot pop, right? Let's see what happens when you do this. Control save, refresh, then I access to buy. As you can see, 2 items are still left. The reason this is happening is because the length of to buy keeps changing, and our function will only run until it's less than the length of to buy. So for example, our function will start with 0 and to buy's length is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it becomes 1 and the length of to buy becomes 3. And then it becomes 2 and it becomes 2 as well. And then over here it just stops. So somehow we want the function to understand we want all of this to be gone. Well, it's a very simple way to do that. All we need to do is we need to assign it to a variable. So we are going to do to buy length is equal to buy dot length. Control save, and then over here we're going to not put in just the length, we're going to put the variable itself. And everything else remains the same. If I save, refresh, and access to buy, it's empty. We have popped each and every item there on the list. And that's basically it. That's all for the for loop. Now, next up, we will have a while loop. So let's see how the while loop works. We can have a variable called our variable our goals is equal to 0. We start with 0, and then we can say while our goals are as long as, but okay, while our goals are less than 10, we want you to run this loop of console.log our goals, and also we want it to keep incrementing, so our goals plus plus, and that's it. Control save. If I refresh, you see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then our goals will become 10, so it needs to be less than 10 and it will stop loading. This is basically a while loop. Also, there is something called an infinite loop. If I were to change this to something like this, well, that now this says that we start with 10 and oh, sorry, not this, greater than 0. Now, I'm not going to run this because it will make my browser crash, but it's called an infinite loop because it's saying that variable our goal starts with 10, and as long as this variable is greater than 0, which it is, you just keep adding. You just keep adding, keep adding, keep adding. So if you do this, you can do it for fun if you want to check it out. I'm not going to do that because it's going to make my browser crash, but this is called an infinite loop, basically. Next thing we're going to learn in our video is something called a do while loop, but to do that first let's see while loop and do while loop at the same time together so that you can understand their difference. So, but obviously I forgot to mention one thing. You can also make it count down. You can also make it subtract and stuff. If you don't want to go like this, I can also do minus minus over here. Control save this, and if I refresh, you see it's counting down. Now, we're going to keep our while loop like this for a while, and we're going to do a do while loop over here. So we have another variable called their goals, which is also equals to 10, starts with 10. And then we're going to go ahead and do a do loop. Do console.log their goals, and we want their goals to be counting downwards. And while we're going to add a while loop over here, while their goals is greater than 0. Okay, control save. Now if I were to refresh, you'll see that they both look the same. The while loop and the do while loop, they're doing the same thing. 10 to 1 and then 10 to 1. But the difference between them is that a while loop first checks the condition and then it goes ahead and runs the code. A do while loop, it starts running the code first and then goes ahead and checks the conditions. So for example, if I were to do something like, I'm going to change the zeros to 10, and then I'm going to add something here so that you guys can see which one is running. This one will be do while, and this is while. Okay, so now we have changed the code to something like the variable starts with 10, and as long as it's greater than 10, we want it to keep deducting. Same thing over here. So if I were to refresh, you will see that only do while ran over here, because you see in the while loop it checks the condition and it's like, oh, okay, no, they're both 10, it doesn't work for our command, we will not run this. Over here on the other hand, it says, okay, run this code. So it runs the code because it starts with a 10. Then it checks the condition that while it's, oh, okay, it's greater than 10. This is 10 is not greater than 10, so I cannot run it. Then it stops running, but it first runs one time at least. So basically, this is the difference between while and do while loop. While checks the condition, do while starts running, and then meanwhile it checks the condition. Now the next loop we're going to learn, obviously the most important one over here is for. That's the one you'll see most of the time, I guess, compared to the other two. Now the next one we're going to learn over here is a variation of for loop. In ECMAScript 5, for loop got upgraded to something called for each. So we're gonna see that. Let's take a look at that one. Okay, I'm gonna remove this so it doesn't run. Control save. Now, if we wanted to console.log all of these items in the list and we wanted to see their index, the way we can do that using for each is to buy dot for each function. Yes, it transforms it into a function, and that function will take two variables that will be to buy, and it will take index, and for those two variables that we get, we want to console.log to buy and I, the index basically. And then we control.save, and if I refresh it over here, you can see we have all the elements of the list and we have their index in front of it. And personally I prefer this one because it's just easier to read. Instead of writing, okay, variable I equals and then the blah 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 blah, which sometimes can sound a bit like gibberish, this is very easy. It's like, okay, there's a variable to buy. For that, for each of the items in to buy, turn them into a function. You will get two variables, and then console.log the first variable, which is to buy the list itself, and the index in front of it, and done. But its true power comes over here, because you can actually take this function out and then you can use it in other places. So for example, if we had another list over here, let's say Control C, Control V, but this list had exclamation marks in front of it, and we wanted to do the same function for both of them. Now we don't need to write this function again and again. What we can do is we can make a function over here. We can call that function log to by, and that function will take obviously two inputs. That will be to by, and it will be an index. And what that function is going to do is it's going to console.log to by and the index. Simple as that. I can control save this, and then I can use it instead of writing all of these things again and again. Let me just delete all of this. Now you can see we have two variables over here. Oh, sorry, this is 2 by 2. Control save. And we have a function that does this. So all I need to do is over here, I need to do to by dot for each. Just run the function log to by, and same thing with 2 by 2 dot for each, just again log to by. And if I control save and I refresh, you can see the list with the exclamation marks and their index, and the list without the exclamation mark and its index is, has been logged over here. So it's a very powerful tool, and now using this knowledge that we have just gained from loops, we will expand on our social media web that we made before and make it even better. So I'll see you in the next video.